Climate change was a bit like a tsunami. You see the advantages first, the tide goes out and the fish is on the beach, but then suddenly this catastrophe comes into you. And the news very recently, yesterday, scientific papers published that the average temperature increase in the Arctic and the tundra was between 4 and 11 degrees centigrade, not 1.5. It's absolutely enormous. This Christmas, the North Pole was above zero.
Really?
And it was totally in the dark.
Daffodils in December?
Mm-hmm. It's something
Yes.
to think about. And if you know a little bit of science, ice melts for as little as 1 degree centigrade rise if the temperature is just a little bit below. So climate change is very non-linear and is much on our agenda. So I think it's like a tsunami at the moment. The advantages initially are seen, we live in a Mediterranean climate. But the disadvantages could well be absolutely enormous. So the point I actually wanted to raise here is that it's obvious that we must go for sustainable energy. And this is what brought me, a scientist, from the Labour movement and the Green Party. Tony Blair also drove me in this direction. But the point is about sustainable funding, Natalie. Yes, we do want tidal lagoons, but it's where to get the funding from. And there's no time better than the present, because interest rates are zero. Let the government borrow the money. The European Bank funds Dow Cymru, Welsh Water at 1%. We have cheap money, so we should use that. So this is non-linear. There are reports about a 5-metre rise in sea level in 200 years. And no to higher cost market funding. So at this point, very quickly, I wanted to touch on that. If you got the next slide. And very briefly. So we're saying yes to tidal lagoons, yes to doing it in Swansea. There's too much detail up here. But typically the point I'm trying to make is that those people behind the tidal lagoon have changed their stance for quite a while on the level of funding they want. They want something like about £195 per megawatt hour for starters. They're now inching down to about 95. But they've extended the payback period.
Interesting. Less than Hinkley nuclear.
Yes, but nuclear aren't taking decommissioning costs in because they're on a separate budget, and that's enormous. But if you take £1 billion borrowed over 35 years, and you do it by the conservative Barclays hedge fund average of return on capital investment, which is run at 3.8, you pay back 3.4. If you borrow from the European Bank, you pay 1.4 billion, £400 interest. If you take with the current scheme proposed by the Swansea Tidal Lagoon people who say anything to get money, over 90 years you pay back 25 billion. The Tidal Lagoon people want that investment from government and then flip it. They're going to flip it immediately. That money will be spread out across the world and we'll be stuck with it for 90 years. So I think the green message really I'm trying to get to is where do we go for the money? And it's very simple. Just go to the European Bank. Or the government just issue some bonds to do it. So it's very important that the message goes on is linked through sustainability, not just of the planet, but of money itself. And that goes to the core of what I believe the green movement should go. So I was just raising that point, but you've got the sharks in there and they all want the money. There we are, Mike. Was there any more? So where is the evidence? This is the evidence. The UK electricity market does not work. You all remember the Australian actor, I've forgotten his name, the famous actor who played John Nash, the mathematician. There's something called the Nash equilibrium that clearly shows the energy market is not working. And these guys know that. It's deliberately designed not to work. So that doesn't work. But what we want green funding rather than everybody being in debt. And the last time, this is where Blair really drove me out of the Labour movement, was the very fact that through PFI they funded a whole range of public sector borrowing, about 70 billion for the NHS, returned funding actually, but the amount of value they had out of it was 55 billion, but the amount it cost us was 301. So who has the 260 billion or 250 billion? Who has it, do you? We spend all that money. The wealthy accumulate that. And the lessons to be learned about PFI, the conservative, Saudi-backed Oxford Institute for Research in Economics actually says that that was very bad value. They're telling us. We just don't read it. And finally, Mike, if there is a finally,
This is the last one.
I think so. So when we talk about energy, we need to take the opportunity to make the financial argument that many are giving. We've got a very strong message to put forward. So we need to talk strategically, not piecemeal, when we're talking about renewable energy, because it's the only way forward. Temperature rises are non-linear. The tidal wave is coming. At the moment, we've got a smile on our face, but our future generations will not have that smile. And finally, we used to fund things local, ethical. We have such a tremendous argument. The question is about vocalising it and trying to develop a strategy that's clear. And I had the impression that many Greens, and this is my own private comment, that the argument was not explained as a balance, that green energy is great, but we want green, sustainable money and finance. So that was my point.
Thank you.